Welcome everyone. So fun. Okay. Thank you all so much for coming out. We are so overwhelmed with the attendance and the excitement. We're so excited. Okay, so I want to quickly just thank our sponsors. So EEmpower Real Estate Group, that's me. I'm not really a sponsor. I just help organize this. But I do want to shout out Hair Homes. So if you need any remodeling done, Hannah's got you. She's also hair welding services as well. And then we've got Sherry Tipton with Shone Title and Massey Valentine that is sponsored. So thank you, Shone and Massey. Revolution Mortgage. We've got Jill. I guess I'll introduce the panel as well. So all the panel speakers are also sponsors. So Jill is branch manager for San Angelo Texas of Revolution Mortgage. She is total badass, has been doing financing for a while now. And I mean, if you need a creative lender and someone who's going to get the job done and lots of different programs, Jill is your girl, and she has an amazing team as well. We've got some of her team here. So shout out to Revolution Mortgage. And then we've got Michelle Chapa here. She is owner of Urban Salt and also Bella and Olivia Interior Designs. And she's also just a big, like, commercial, you're just an influence with, especially downtown San Angelo commercial real estate. No, she's being humble. Yeah, and then owner and attorney, I don't think I said that. She's also an attorney. I mean, you took over from it was Massey, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you've been, and you've gotten a lot of deals done for me that I don't think a lot of other people or title offices couldn't have done, and giving me great advice, giving my clients great advice for real estate. So thank you to our sponsors. Please think of them for all of your real estate needs after you leave inspired tonight, hopefully. Let's see. So I wanted to, one more thing too. So we're going to do giveaways after this panel. So stick around after. We're going to have some more networking, but we're going to have really good giveaway prizes as well. So I'm sure if you haven't already, make sure you put your name in the bowl up front. Lindsay, raise your hand. Go to Lindsay if you haven't put your name in for the drawing after. Okay, so FIRE, females in real estate. We want to make this, kind of like a monthly or quarterly thing. We don't know where we're taking it yet. If anybody wants to get involved, my name is Hallie Baylor before I have to say that, but just find me after or reach out to me on Facebook. If you want to get involved. I talked to Lindsay Flady also. She's the executive director for San Angelo Association of Realtors, and they have a consumer-facing, like a little committee, I guess I should say, that's also going to help get this started. So I want this to be not just a one-time deal, because there's so many topics to cover in real estate and investing, and this is really important for us females. So I guess going off of that, I wanted to give you guys a few little statistics that I pulled, and they're just, I don't know, statistics that I think about a lot. So only about 32% of real estate investors are women, according to Zippia. We need to increase that. Real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth, and especially generational wealth. We'll get into that. This is really important, guys. We cannot let the men dominate this here. I wish I knew the statistics for San Angelo in general, but this is what I got, and I know it probably reflects that same amount. Another statistic for you guys, about 34% of women in a US-based survey by Finance Buzz haven't taken the plunge on investing, compared with 24% of men. And then a YouGov survey tells us that 62% of men deem investing a high priority versus only 55% of women. So just something to think about. I don't know. I think all of us up here are very passionate about getting more females in San Angelo and the Concho Valley more engaged in real estate investing. We have so many different ideas, because that could be, it could be owning rental properties. We need more of those. It could be building. We need more housing and more commercial spots. It could be opening a business. All of us love new businesses in San Angelo. And we've got a room full of ladies, if you start a business, that'll be there to support you. So if you have any questions, let's go ahead. We're going to leave about 15 minutes at the end to answer those questions. So let's save them for the end. I guess a few other housekeeping items. If you didn't already know, we've got a bathroom in the back on the left. Amazing food. Shout out to Hampton's Catering and Jatan and her husband, Courtney. He always does an amazing job. I think she's back there. Thank you to John for all your help. Miss Sherman title, margarita machine going with sangria margaritas. Yeah. If you ever have a closing there, do it on a Friday. They have the machine going. So again, thank you guys for coming. Okay, so I want to kick this off. I mean, I mentioned it a little bit, but I want to hear from all of our ladies on why you chose, or why you've chosen real estate to invest in. So I'm going to let Sherry kick this off.
And all of us up here are investors. So Hallie didn't say, I am an attorney and I'm an old attorney. I've been doing this for 38 years. I'm strong in title. I represent banks, lenders. So I am immersed in real estate every single day. That's what I do. And I just don't think you can be investing in real estate. Why invest in real estate? There's two reasons I want to talk to you about. The first is that you can build wealth. No question, you can build wealth through investing in real estate. Two, it's a safe investment. It provides a really high return with little risk. I personally think you can't go wrong with real estate. When I came back to town after law school, Mr. Tom Massey here, he was a real estate investor and an attorney, hired me. And he sat me down one day and he said, Sherry, you're not going to get wealthy from being an attorney in this town. But he said you can get wealthy by taking opportunities to invest in real estate when they come your way. And so I think he gave me some very good advice. So how do you build wealth with real estate? Investing in real estate can provide passive income. Does anyone know what passive income want to share?
You got one over here?
Yes.
Income you don't have to go out and get a job. It comes to you in the mailbox.
That's right. It's income that you earn while you're in bed. You actually get rich while you're sleeping. It's income you earn while you're working another job, or while you're being a mom, or while you're being a soccer mom. For example, rent houses are passive income. And so you can be working your job, you can purchase a rent house, and you can go get a loan to purchase that rent house. And you can rent it out for enough to cover the loan payment, your taxes, your insurance, and then it pays for itself. It actually pays for the property during the time while you're doing another career. And so the real property is going to increase in value, your debt's going to go down, and someday you're going to have an asset that's fully paid for with no debt, and it's going to be an increased value. So something I want to tell you if you don't hear anything else from me tonight, you make your money when you purchase the property. You make your money up front. You want a good deal. You do not want to invest, pay overpriced. And so I just want you to remember that as you hear us talking about that tonight. And so real estate offers long-term wealth through appreciation. Real estate is always going to go up. I can assure you that. And I do title exams every day. I have to go back 50 years. I look at these houses that are bought for $130,000 now selling for $400,000 every single day. And real estate's a real object. It's a tangible object. You can feel it, you can touch it, you can improve it. When my dad passed, I inherited a little money. I went to a financial planner. I said, I want to invest this money in stock. He told me what to invest it in. That company filed bankruptcy, my money was gone. Mm-hmm. And so that's not what happens with real estate. It's always going to go up in value. And I have Jill Colgan. I want her to stand up and tell a little story about investment.
Come on, Jill. Come on.
So I closed on a property, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and I was going to flip it, and somebody ended up buying it almost double my money. So in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Right? Everyone's dumb luck. I mean, it was beginning.
Yeah, that's great.
I know, but you being in real estate and having a pulse on things gave you an upper hand on that.
That's right.
And Jill is a realtor, so if you have questions about real estate or want guidance, go to someone like Jill who can find investment deals for you, whether it be on market, off market. No way.
You know, that's what I'm going to say to you, realtor. Don't get the first look at a lot of these deals. Snap them up.
Yeah. And only 13% of real estate agents actually invest themselves. So To the realtors in here, let's get on that.
There's also tax advantages to owning real estate, such as deductions for mortgage interest, property taxes, and depreciation. And maybe CPA come and talk to you about what the tax advantages are. So, girls, you can control your future. You can gain financial independence through real estate. For example, say I have 15 rental properties that I invest in, and I have a plan to get those paid off by the time I retire. Then they're paid for, I retire, and I've got, say they each rent for $1,000 a month, I've got $15,000 a month coming in addition to the retirement I've earned from working my job. So I encourage you to get out there and be brave and be bold, and let's do this.
Love it.
Okay. Oh, I feel like no line.
Yes, well, yes, for sure.
So like Hallie said, my name is Hannah Hare, and this table, the panelists, is unbelievable, and they have a lot of experience, and I am the new kid at this table. And I'm not embarrassed by that, I'm proud of it, but I've probably only been in this industry for a couple of years, full time. Prior to this, I was a teacher. And I think that teaching is one of the most noble professions that we have. My mom was a teacher for 30 years, and like, wow, teacher, unfortunately, I'm not one of them. So when I was teaching, I got a little bit frustrated by how I had the ceiling above me. I was gonna make what I was gonna make, whether I was there during school hours or put in an 80-hour work week, grading papers, taking things home. And so after my second son, I realized there's no additional opportunity for me here. My growth is kind of stunted. I've reached my max capacity and I needed something different. So after listening to, I don't know, 1,000 hours of podcasts and reading books and talking to friends about some great fields, I have some great agent friends that helped me and some lending friends. I just dove in. I primarily flip houses. So I take houses. If you don't know what house flipping is, I am not showing the games by any stretch of the imagination, but I take houses.
She's better.
I don't know about that, but I take houses that are essentially unlivable. And not all flippers do it this way. There's 1,000 different ways you do it, but I take houses that are in horrible, horrible condition. I make them nice, livable, to make the neighborhood a little brighter and prettier to the best of my abilities, and then I sell them for a profit. And when I tell you that I'm new, my first project, I profited $5,000. And if you are an expert flipper in here, you are laughing at me because that is nothing, and it was a year's worth of work. However, I got really gritty. I got in there. I got business taken care of. I learned how to use power tools. I relied on my husband. I called plumbers. Y'all, I am 30 years old, and I'm the kind of person who I'm still anxious when I have to call the doctor's office to make an appointment. I want my mom to do that for me. And before I do it, I'm on the phone with these big burly men who fix foundations and do roofs and they would talk to me about plumbing and HVACs and the knowledge I gained. Y'all, I love Helen Corey for a lot of reasons, but the fact that her brokerage, I don't know what the name is, but you're EEmpower, right? There's something so empowering about getting to decide how much money you're gonna make on a project. There's something so empowering about learning how to use power tools. And now when I see a plumbing issue, I know what I'm talking about. I understand it, and I'm not relying on my husband to come and fix it for me.
Yeah.
Y'all,
Yes.
I love the single care. It's the greatest thing ever, but I love that I know what I'm talking about in this industry that is so heavily dominated by men. So all of that to say, I think we should be investing. I think women have the capacity to be gritty, to be bold, and to be really brave. This was really brave. Guys, if we're talking about our finances, I run the budget for my household, if any of you do that. I have 2 sons, have a husband, and I feel like at the forefront of my mind is always taking care of these boys, taking care of the 4 walls that surround me. So it was a huge leap of faith, a lot of prayer, to take my money that I was gonna use to take care of my family and invest it. However, I'm building financial security and freedom and wealth for them so that someday those boys go to college. Someday those boys might want to buy a house and maybe I can help. Maybe I can buy their first car when they turn 16. But the fact that I can do it and I can do it on my own is really, really amazing to me. And then of course, every now and then, Daniel and I look at each other, we notice a few more gray hairs, we notice the little lines on our eyes, and we start talking about retirement. We want to work as long as we want to work. We love what we do. But I do want to have the option. Y'all, as I stayed in education, I was going to teach until I was 95 years old. And that's dramatic, but honestly, I probably would teach until I was 80 to hit my retirement numbers. I didn't want to do that. So I want to do this for as long as I want to do it, and then I want to be ready to retire, and I want to be set for that. I want Daniel and I to be okay. I probably want to travel the world. I don't know. But I know that I'm going to be able to do it because of the things we're investing in now. And like Sherry said, the thing to be investing in is real estate. We are forcing appreciation on our houses through flipping. I'm going to held on to one property, which is going to appreciate like crazy, I think. The numbers, we've only had it for a little while. The numbers are already looking really good. And that's just lit another fire that only keeps getting further and further into. So yeah, invest in real estate. If you have any interest in flipping, you think you want to do it, you think you can do it, I know you can, but I think I'm your girl, and probably Jill, you flip houses too? I know, we're putting you on the spotlight. Get up here, be up there. Okay, well, keep doing it. Because it's on.
She's my niece on both.
Write this down. Don't put everything in your husband's name, your boyfriend's name, have some properties in your own name. As someone who's married, been married over 20 years, have 3 children together, I'm a very, I guess, anybody that knows me in this room, I'm always preaching, have something for yourself. Do not have things in your husband's name, your boyfriend's name. The reason is you don't know what's happening tomorrow. And I want to get into how I even got into real estate. I didn't have money. I had to use a 401k, take money out of my 401k, use my paid off card for collateral and go to the bank. So for a lot of people like me that are starting out that don't have money, it's easy to say, go buy real estate, right? Well, how? How do I get started? I don't have money. I had 3 kids. My husband's a firefighter. We didn't have big income. So how do you do that? So that was my question. And no one could tell me. And everybody's like, well, just go buy it. Go get a loan. Do you know how much you have to get down to buy a commercial property? Anybody wanted to take the total on 20%? Thank you. Okay, so 300,000, 20%. Do you think I have 20% of 300,000? No, I did not. So get into it how you can. Talk to a lender, talk to a realtor. Make sure you have assets, collateral, because you can borrow against that. I don't know how many times I used my 4Runner for collateral to buy something. It's like, are we ever going to own this car? No, I'm going to keep using it until it does not run in. Because if it causes me to get a loan, I'm taking it. So that is important. So if you have anything that you can pay off, use it. It's worth something. The bank says, hey, well, if you can't pay me, that's something we'll take back from you. Get to know your bankers. Make good relationships with them. Get a good CPA. Get a good lawyer. Because you will need a lawyer, trust me. You will get sued or someone will sue you. I can guarantee that's going to happen. Like I tell everybody, I can't tell you everything of what to do, but I can tell you exactly what, okay? Because it's cost me a lot of money and a lot of gray hair. Thank goodness I have my hair touched up. So that's basically how I started. And honestly, I'm not embarrassed to say how I started. My first building was the owner finance. I rented the building. And I remember mentioning to the owner, I really wish I could buy this building because I want to finance it too. And I was like, well, I don't have any money to give. He's like, no. I was like, just fix it up. I got really lucky because I fixed it up and then I'll sell it to you for this. And he sold it to me for a horribly high interest rate. Because that's what's going to happen when you owner finance. They're going to give you a higher interest rate than the bank. So you always want to finance with a bank. Owner finance is horrendous. So I did that for a little bit, built up equity in the building, and then I was able to refinance it at a lower percentage. And my payments went down because of that. And then when I did that, I had collateral in the building. Let's say I bought it for 100, and it was worth like 200. And then I wanted to do more things. So when you go to the bank, they're like, okay. I was like, well, I'm going to take money. I have equity. Equity is when your property is appraised for more than what you owe. Okay. So the bank will loan you 85% of that. And you can take that money out. Of course, it goes back into the loan. Your loan will be higher again. But then you can use that money and then go buy property because now you have a down payment. And then you just keep doing it over and over. Now, it's not easy. I don't know how many times I had to cancel a vacation with my kids because a renter called me because the AC went out. And I was like, I know I have a great beach house rented for summer vacation, but my renters need a new AC unit and that's $6,000. So we're not going at it. I mean, you know, so you have to be able to say, I'm going to sacrifice things. My kids got over it, of course, we do lots of stuff, but you just have to be able to sacrifice, put some money aside, because just like owning a house, what's going to happen, things will go wrong. The plumbing's going to go out. Your roof's going to leak. It's going to happen. So yes, it's a fairy tale owning property, but be prepared, have some money set aside because stuff is going to go. And I know some of y'all are property managers and realtors in here, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm not trying to be like, oh gosh, you on here and bummed us out, but no, it's a great thing. It is a great thing. Some properties I have my husband on, some I cannot. And I do that. Obviously, I'm not worried that anything's gonna happen, but I feel better. I want my daughters to do the same. It gives you your own independence. It's nice to have if you do it. So if y'all have any questions, I'm not a gatekeeper by any means. I don't keep information from people. If you ever want to, I mean, I even have friends to this day that call me and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what about this? And I will just have the longest conversation with you guys who are talking about stuff like that. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not a gatekeeper, happy to spread information and anything I can. So anyway, that's all I have. So I'm really happy to have a good turnout. And if anybody likes this building, it's for sale. You teach tuition. Anyway, thank you for coming.
Why for real estate as well?
My one. Why not? That's how I look at it. I'm like, I remember I was in, well, I'm the only single one here. And so I really believed when I got divorced about 23 years ago that I've been doing loans for many years. I've been doing it over 30. And all of a sudden I got scared. And I was like, I can't do it without him. But I was thinking I was paying that other house that we lived in. So I decided that I got lucky and I had a good deal come up when I transferred to San Angelo. And luckily the realtor convinced me you need to buy this great deal. I knew it was, but I was still, even though I believed in buying houses, that was my job, I still had fear. And so I think it was one day I just sat there and I looked at all the houses around me and I was like, smart. I was like, I know I'm a good person. I've done the right thing. You know, I wasn't more entitled than anybody else. I was broke at that time because I'd gone through a pretty big divorce and I didn't have much of anything. I think a lot of us have been down that road. But the one thing I could do is work hard and I could sacrifice. And I never felt entitled. And so I did give up cable for a year and I did not go out to eat. And I didn't have a problem with peanut butter and crackers. But I was single too, you know, and there's a difference when you're cooking for a whole family and stuff like that. So I do understand that as well. But even as with my children and stuff, the way I was raised, it was like, if it wasn't there, you didn't get it. You know, it wasn't a big deal. There was a lot of love and just love for instead of buying stuff. And so you really learn how to budget. I think Hannah was talking about budgeting and stuff like that. And so I bought my house here and I didn't have much. And to be honest, at that time, my ex and I were we had days we got along. And he gifted me enough money for the first house. Just for an FHA 3.5 years, which I really hated to ask him, but it was still nice just. So I stayed there 4 years. And then I decided I wanted a house with a pool because my daughters were teenagers and I wanted all their friends in. And I didn't want to helicopter them, but I wanted to make sure that things were cool. So anyway, I literally said, I need a house. One came up. And it was in my budget, which you guys aren't going to believe this, it was under $100,000. And I snapped it up pretty fast and bought that house, stayed in 7 years, remodeled it, and sold it for enough to buy the house I really wanted. And so, and for 20%. So I made a lot of money on that house. But I would never have gotten that house if I wouldn't have bought the house I really didn't care about to begin with. And it was just a in the meantime house, and I didn't want to throw my money away, kind of thing. And so I really believe that we're all born the same way. And some people love it and some people don't. And I saw in our family, when I was growing up, my parents were in construction, and they had a restaurant, they had a hotel, they had 5 houses, life was good until it wasn't. And all of that went away. And you go like from here to here. So I think that's a good humbling thing. You learn to not ever judge anybody, because it can be gone as fast as it was there. And so they taught us to work, and I always felt like I just about outwork anybody. And so as I can't remember who it was, I think it was Hannah said, buying properties and stuff was an opportunity for me to take charge of my life and make money that was passive, as Sherry said, and there wasn't a limit on it. It wasn't like clocking in. Not that that's not bad. Those are good jobs to have, but you can clock in on the job and still buy a house, and we can show you how to do that. There's down payment assistance, there's all kinds of things. But after I bought that house, then I bought many, many houses. Then I was like 3. I was like, what was my problem? I realized it was all me. It wasn't how much I made. I mean, I'm also extremely, I want to say tight, because I just spend money on people I love. But I don't care to spend a whole lot typically. So I would save enough money and put whatever I needed down. And I was lucky to have a partner. I partnered with many of the houses with my mom. Sherry helped us put them in an LLC and things like that. And I think I just opened my mind that it could happen. And when you have somebody who's a good mentor, like my mother, who didn't retire until she was 79.
Shout out, Jean.
Yeah, and she could outwork anybody in this room at home today. So she was born to work hard. And she taught us that. But she also, through all of the self-employment that they had done, and the ups and downs, and I lived in Midland for 20 years. My ex-husband drove Wells, we went through the oil bus. And I just was able to recreate and never thought there was a stop. People will come to you, make your life miserable, and do things to you, and you just keep going. And that if you do the right thing, have the right heart, it all works out, and make money. And so that's, to me, freedom. I could quit work any day I want. I just don't want, yet. So anyway, but the thing about it is when I'm ready to do it, now I do it because I love it, and Brittany won't let me leave. And that's my daughter, she works with me as well. But I'm just saying that I think the biggest thing is why not, and knowledge, like, and I think everybody's kind of said that. And I think it's such a blessing. I feel blessed. I don't know why I got asked to do this, because these are really 4 phenomenal women. I mean, just being around them during us getting this ready and stuff, I feel like whenever I'm surrounded by good people, like everybody here in this room, I feel like I'm doing something.
I'll tell you why we brought you in. Let's transition into this. Tell us a little bit about financing for real estate. What are some options? Obviously there's investor loans, but there's ways that people can take if they don't own a home yet. They can,
that's
house hack. She's an amazing investor too, but I'm like, tell us a little bit about the financing part too.
Sure. So that's one of the reasons that you probably, you see different lenders and move to different companies and things like that. And I think it's because we have to think outside the wheelhouse now. And there's so many opportunities and so many different financing than just you have to put 3% down, 3.5% down. Those are all individual things that may work for you and may not work for you. And, people are like, well, what credit score? Well, what's your debt? And other things. So, and when they were talking about how much money down, I've known a lot of them. Well, I'm back to the 6. I'm sorry, I didn't turn. There's VA, conventional, FHA, if you're talking about a primary. And one of the reasons, some of you I know are chatting with a bunch of you tonight, came is you haven't even bought that first. And the super thing is everybody in this room would be like ecstatic to see you do better, give you help or advice. There's some great realtors, lenders, us, and got some other lenders back there. You know, just some tools that there's so much, you almost have to contact the lender to see what situation is it for you. And sometimes we'll tell you you're waiting, you're not ready.
And that's free to do.
Yeah,
You can make an appointment and just kind of tell your situation, and they'll guide you on what they think would be the best way
Willing
to
to
get into investing, and the realtor can help with that too.
Absolutely. Willing to guide you to, do you want the long version? Do you want the quick version? Do you know, how much? And so, but everything truthfully on that is getting with the right lender, because I have pages and pages of interest only. There's loans you can go buy a residential house and have no income. It's all based on the rental. You have to have good credit and assets, about 25% down to do it. But there's loans like that, right? So it's not always what you think. Same way with all of these loans have credit involved in them and stuff. We've done so many loans for veterans that didn't even know they had the right to give a puppy. So that's kind of funny, but it really is true. And most of them are older, and they never got. Nowadays, I think they're educated in that pretty much while they're in the military. But there's a lot of veterans and stuff that didn't think they deserved it. That was taking money from the government or something. You know, they just didn't know. So educating yourself and finding out, letting somebody pull your credit, look at your income. You tell them what your goals are. We've done lots and lots of loans for people. They start with the primary, they stay in a year, fix it up or leave it alone, whatever. And in a year that becomes their rental and they're on to the next one. But I would say most of those people are disciplined and they're not looking for it to be easy. They're looking for, how do I make it happen? You know, how can I get there? And I'm not telling you, none of it was easy for me. I mean, nobody gave me a call. I think Mom gave me $500 once and I paid her back in a week. So, but other than that, nobody handed it to me. It was hard work and it was buying properties. I mean, we just bought and bought and bought. And some we sold, some we rented, you know, some we owner finance, you know, stuff like that. So we're those people that charge that high end. That being said, that's not all the bad.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's the only.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think when it comes to financing, like Sherry was talking about, it's appreciation. And there are downtrends in the economy sometimes. I mean, I've watched it happen in Dallas and Austin, you know, in 2008. But 2 years later, it was right back where it was. So you gotta have the guts to hold on, the guts to, you know, I worked 2 jobs when I had to. I worked at a bank and I cleaned the bank after everybody left. So, you know, if you're not afraid to do what it takes, anybody can do it. And it didn't kill me. I thought of it like it was a workout. You know, that's what I thought I was doing. But anyway, there's several loads. I don't know if anybody's getting specific questions, but
We'll say that for the end.
Okay.
Perfect.
thank you.
Okay, all right, Hannah, I want to turn it over to you again, because I want to get some input from you. For those looking to get started, I want you to tell your story about how you got started, especially in residential.
So at this point in time, I do only invest in residential because when I got started, we didn't have a ton of capital, a ton of money, and the idea of buying a duplex, apartment complex, things like that, or a commercial building, it's a little overwhelming. Those things are really expensive. So I can wrap my mind around a house. And the amount I don't know, Daniel and I maybe saved up 10 grand to get started. Not a lot. And that was through hardcore Dave Ramsey and eating rice and beans for 5 years. And my kids were closed for Walmart. So that's how we kind of enabled that. And we owned the property on wall that we sold, which added to our capital, but I mean, it's still a pretty humble amount. And because I'm a Dave Ramsey girly, I'm pretty averse to debt. So first, lenders, don't be mad at me, but at first I was pretty stubborn and said, we're gonna pay cash for houses. That's it, end of story. And because I was scared of a loan, I was scared of having a mortgage payment that I wasn't going to be able to make, and I didn't have the knowledge of lenders and things like that. So we bought a house with cash. Can I just be so transparent?
Of course. No, like,
It cost us $36,000, the whole house, all 900 square feet. And it was terrifying because I thought if the wind blew too hard, it would fall over. Genuinely. And in hindsight, should we have just knocked it down and built a new house? Probably, because we fixed every single thing there was to fix on the house. There was a part where, or there were times like, it didn't have the floor. I walked in the front door and it was dirt. Okay, so that was scary, but with the little bitty bit of capital that we had and the skills, my husband does work in construction, so we had the tools, we had some of the knowledge, and we just got in there and made that house cool. It was really cool, and we sold it to a guy. It was like a little bachelor pad. It was so cool. But we did it with our $36,000 from our $10,000 of savings and from selling our little lot and wall. And again, like Joe said, it was a lot of sacrifice. At the time, I was still teaching, so I was working. I had 2 little kids, and on Saturdays we went to the flip house, and my kids played in the dirt floor while I hung drywall, or demoed cabinets, or tried to figure out how to put this flange thing with this PVC pipe thing so that water would eventually run to this house. But it was just, I echo a lot of what Jill said, is so much hard work and nitty-gritty. But we did it. And because we didn't lose money, I know I said earlier we made it maybe $5,000. I counted it as a win. We didn't lose one single dollar. And we made it home for somebody. Also super fulfilling. There's a man that lives there and is safe and happy, and that house is not going to fall down in any kind of windstorm. Our wind is crazy. The house is going to stay standing. I'm so confident in that. And that first house just kind of lit a fire for us. And then we went on to buy the next one and the next one. Then through conversations with, I don't know, you, Hallie, who told me to like hold on to some houses. We held on to one. And that's kind of how we got started. So my message, I think, is if you have never bought a single house or you don't invest and you're thinking, I could just start with something small, you can't. There are houses in San Angelo that you can buy for way less than $100,000. I think there's some listed right now for 45, 46. Yep. Go get them. Sometimes, Hallie, or anybody, correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes those are hard to finance. And it's easier to buy those with cash.
to be honest,
Are those financiable?
it depends on the shade.
Okay, well, yeah, there's certain special.
What I would tell one of my clients, if they were doing a fix and flip, that's one thing, like a big deal, it like over 100,000 or something. But if you're gonna do something small like that, try your credit unions.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good for that, and they're pretty fair. They love those kind of loans.
And
Typically,
they'll actually finance like the construction portion too.
sometimes. I think they're very much individual per client. So I think it's one of those things, establish your relationship, go open an account, wait a week, and then.
We definitely recommend talking with the lenders first
Yeah.
before picking out the house.
Yeah, this will help you get to the right person, even if it was most everything you could do. But when it gets to those little ones, there's laws in the state of Texas that don't even allow us to charge certain fees. So we basically end up paying to do.
But I can be done talking. All of this is to say, if you have a little chunk of change and want to do it that way, I know how to do that. But I'm also now a big fan of lenders, big fan of leveraging. I've learned a lot. I think it can be done beautifully both ways. But that's
Well, keep your money to buy another.
Yeah.
Well, and I've even known people who have, I mean, there's zero down loans.
Yeah.
It is a little bit higher interest, but I've known people that have bought a duplex, zero down, rented out the other side. And
That's a
had their
great
whole-
thing. But we were talking about
Yeah,
that.
and then they ended
The
up.
hardest thing is to find the duplex.
Yes, I think there are some builders
Yeah.
that are going to be.
Oh, good.
building
Well, there you go.
some
You might know.
in Angelo. We could, a realtor could help you find those off market potentially. But yeah,
That's
even a way
super
to
way.
get in. Yeah, and then you could, appreciation, there's ways, maybe Jill, you can talk about this, where you can pull out the equity you have on it and use that for a down payment on the next one. And so it's on that, you can get the income coming on that.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways, no matter what type of income you have or how much you have in your pocket. If there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way.
Yes. Okay, so I wanna, like, this is probably gonna be our last question or topic, but, and whoever wants to claim this, please do, but I wanna talk about maybe, barriers that you've encountered as a woman in real estate, or even any advice you have to overcome barriers as a woman.
I've talked too much, but can I tell one thing?
No, yes.
A barrier. When I called, I don't work with him so much anymore, but there was a plumber that I called to help, and when I called him, he didn't answer, and he would call my husband. When I texted him, he texted my husband back. That angers me, and so in terms of how do we break down that barrier? The only advice I have is find a new plumber. We know that is an unnecessary barrier. That's it. Mic drop. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Very unnecessary.
No, I don't. But I want to say I was as poor as all of the ones on the table when I started out. I grew up on East 25th over here in Bradford Elementary. I didn't have anything given to me either. So it was just a lot of hard work. As Holly said, only about 32% of real estate investors are women. Some women believe it's still a man's world in this field, and there are a lot of men, but it's time, girls, that we go after this and look at this turnout tonight.
Yeah.
And if you look around you in this room, if you want to get into real estate right now, you want to start investing, everybody that you need to talk to is in this room. There are lenders here. Just look at everybody's name tag. There are realtors here. There are property managers here. There are title company people here. So everybody that you need to ask, and they're insurance people. I'm trying to let them out. There is one lawyer here, I think. So look around, talk, spend this last 30 minutes and educate yourself. That's the thing. That's the thing that is going to break down the barrier, is to educate yourself, educate yourself, educate yourself. And you've done it. You started it right here tonight. And just get a mentor. I can talk to anybody anytime. Network, and then go together. If you're scared to pull the plug and do it on your own, get your best friend. My best friend and I, we invest in real estate together. So those are all ways that I look at that.
How about this? If you're a real estate agent, raise your hand. If you look around, you need a real estate agent. You have to grab the phone, right? If you're a lender, raise your hand. If you are an insurance, raise your hand. Yeah. If you're an attorney, raise your hand. If you're an appraiser, do you have any appraisers in here? Yeah. Title reps, raise your hand. Escrow, yeah, title company people, yeah. And property managers. Erica, she's a good one too. Am I missing any other real estate? CPAs, bookkeeper, we will get those. That will be another event. Well, thank you ladies for your input. That was amazing. I was going to go to questions first. Yes. Okay. Let's pick questions. Who's got questions? Anybody? No? No questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Yes.
What is the difference in using you for an LLC and doing one on your?
You can file one on your own to Secretary of State, but that gives you your certificate of formation, your company agreement. The bank's going to want to see your company agreement, which is like your logs. And we do a whole package when we form an LLC. It's not just the certificate that you file.
Right.
But you do not have to in Texas have all that. But your vendors are going to want to see that because they're going to know we can sign for the company and that sort of thing. But all you really have to do is just can file it because it's not that.
I would recommend going to it. As someone who's done an LLC online and is an attorney, I highly recommend an attorney just because, especially if you're going in with partners, everything needs to be in there. I can tell how, hey, you and I are going to put this house, and I'm going to invest all the money, you're going to use sweat equity, and then we're going to write 50-50 on the LLC. And if that's not precisely written in the LLC, especially if you do an LLC partnership or if you're going to be an investor together, then our words are worth nothing. But as far as LLC properties, yes, too. Yeah. I don't know if that's what you asked.
And it is helpful to
Yes, advice.
pull them out, you can put them back in, and Sherry's helped us with I want to switch this to this ownership,
Yeah.
things like that.
I wanted to get back to that man question real quick because I get a lot. I started with my first business. I started around 2008, and I got into like home decor design, and then I started learning construction that way. My husband was a firefighter, just running home back then, and 3 kids, so I was basically just like going in blindly, and I learned a lot, and I became friends with a lot of contractors. I learned plumbing, electrical, framing, and all that good stuff, roofing, stuff that I never thought I would need to know. I remember going to job sites and measuring and taking my measurements. Of course, there'd be men at the job site like, do you know how to use that?
It's a tape measure, yeah.
I need to be doing use it. And you're right, there are men that will not really speak to me. I would walk around with the builder, the homeowner, myself, and we actually had an engineer that had come down as a commercial property. And I will not name it. The engineer had to come down to the property, and so I was kind of like helping design, all that stuff. So going on, and the builder was not happy that there was someone else giving their opinion, AKA me. And so the engineer kept saying, okay, well, what do you think? Where should we put this? And, asking me questions. And then he would ask me questions, and the builder would chime in. He wouldn't let me talk. He would cut me off. And the customer is a friend of mine, and I was like doing it as a favor too. So I was just like, you say shit, and just keep my mouth shut. And finally the engineer, he was like, well, you let her talk. I was like, thank you. I was not the only one not noticing it. And if you know me, it takes a lot for me to stay quiet and not say anything. So it's very, very hard, but yes, you're going to encounter those guys. I still do to this day when I go to job sites, because I still do that. It's my full-time job. And so when I encounter men, it's going to happen. They're going to disrespect you. They're going to think you don't know what you're talking about. And, if you try to give advice, that's just the way it is. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share my measuring tapes for you.
You have a story. This one always kept me going about strength and stuff. My mother was like one of the first when she sold cars for like 30 years. And back then it was, oh my God, my mother's a sage in car sales. But she gave them a good name. And when she was out dealing with only men, because she was like the only woman, this was in Dallas. And guys would come to a lot and they would just not speak to her and just say, we want to meet. I mean, it was blatant back many years ago. And so instead of getting like frustrated or anything, she was maybe desperate. She had to make some money. She took the guides and run them. And that's what I'm kind of hearing right here too, is like, there's always going to be obstacles, even probably men with women and vice versa. Even whatever. The whole thing is, don't worry about that. How can you do what you need to do? And so what she did was she took from all the manuals and learned them better than anyone on the lot. And she was telling me the story when she said, when all of that changed was a guy did the same thing, wanted to buy a truck and was like waiting for the guy to get there to sell the truck to her. And she's like, no, what are you gonna pull with that? And he told her whatever. And she knows car talk, I don't. But she was like, well, I think you're gonna need, you got that many axles, you're gonna need this kind of truck and, this kind of torque and blah, blah, blah. And I think that just cinched it right there. And then she started just doing families of generations. Until she quit, I think she did it right at 30 years there, and was still typically one of the only women, but she didn't let that bother. She went ahead and did what it took. It was harder than what those guys had to do, and it wasn't always fair. She didn't get the people that walked in the door and stuff like that, but she still remained kind to other men and women, trained a bunch. She created a game for Ford under they took to the corporate office. I mean, she just kept staying so positive. And so when you get down and you feel like everything isn't going right, don't fall down, get your butt up and get working and get it going, and you can do it. I mean, if we can do it, all of us, there was nobody saying, sorry, you don't deserve that. It was like, yeah, that shit happens. And the thing is, but you didn't keep that as a barrier. So my thing to you guys is like, don't let anything that happens, like the lawsuits, that could have just made you want to get out of the business. And it didn't make her, it made her stronger. you will learn something. It's not, and look at how she's able to tell that story to everyone here. So the things that you go through that are tough are going to be the things that you're going to be able to help somebody too. So that's what I would say.
Love it. So while we are all very inspired, I want to remind you that this building right here is for sale. But seriously, great investment opportunity. You are in the heart of downtown. Downtown is having a huge revival right now. I mean,
How do you get involved with that downtown? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
I would like to get to that. And maybe talk about the tiers.
Okay. So the really cool thing about being downtown, I've always wanted to be downtown and have businesses here and own property down here. One of the cool things is when you invest downtown, there's a thing called the Tiers Grant, and a lot of you know about it. So what that is where property taxes that are paid down here are put into a fund. Right now, they're separated north and south. There's talks of adjusting that, but that's a whole other topic for another day. But so what happens is there's so much money in the bank, okay? So for example, let's say I bought this building and I was like, I really would love to redo the storefront. That's really amazing windows and doors at the front. Like I don't have the money right now to do it. Well, there's a Tiers grant, you can apply for it. And they give you, there's only so much money. And so they write out and then you gotta wait and then apply when there's money. You have to fill it out. There's a whole board or panel that will look at your application and decide, okay, yeah, we'll give you this much, or no, you're not getting money this time. The kicker is, and a lot of people don't realize this, you have to pay for it up front still. But a lot of banks know that Tiers grant is a real thing. And if you can show them I got approved, they will front you the money and then that check will go to them when it comes in. So it is essentially free money that is downtown. I will say that our area right here, we don't get as much Tiers as the north side of town. So if you are looking, even if you don't want to buy here, the north side of Chadbourn has an amazing Tiers bucket of money. And the reason is it doesn't get utilized as much. We use it a little bit more here. A lot of people don't even know that it exists. And I think too, another barrier is that you do have to pay for it up front and wait to get reimbursed. So I think that's also an issue with the Tiers grant money and all of that. But so anyway, back to buying properties. And so it has changed. I first started buying, this was actually the first building I ever bought, this first building. So it's been for a lot of different renters. Myself, I was in here. And then I bought 2 buildings across the street. There were nothing. And I remember I got them for cheap. And I could not, I was like, okay, I want one. And then I'm going to sell the other one and make some money. I couldn't find anyone to buy them. And I was like, now I was telling all my friends, like, come up this building. You can just think of all the things. And they're like, nope, hang it. So eventually I opened a little shop. And then I got a business partner of mine who is a very good friend of mine. And we're still very good friends. And he was like, oh, well, so he came into the deal on those 2 buildings and then turned it into a salon and coffee shop, which is down the street.
So have plan A, B, C, D.
And then also like the worst thing to get friends. I think that's how I got more property was after friends. Make sure your friends have good credit. And yeah, so and like they said, you can buy a property. And if you can get it appraised, that's where Lauren comes in over there. You need a good appraiser that's going to give you a good deal. That way you can go to the bank and say, hey, this building's appraised at this much, I'm gonna buy it this much, I'm gonna remodel it, and then it's gonna be worth X amount. They will loan you the money to fix it after you, or when you start financing it. So that's another thing I didn't realize. I didn't know, I thought, oh, I have to buy this property, now I have to come up with my own money to fix it up. No, if you buy a property and you can get it appraised correctly, the bank will loan you the money on that to fix it up. So anyways, we love you. So come downtown and get some friends together, pitch in and buy this building.
So she can pay for it. I don't know. Any last minute questions before we do the giveaway? Awesome. Okay. So just really quick on these sheets, if you're interested in contacting any of these wonderful panel members, we've got emails on here. We're replying them afterwards. I want to thank our sponsors again for helping to put this on, our very first Fire Females in Real Estate networking event. So thank you. And now we'll do a little giveaway. We have a couple different gifts.